the same. We share the love. Embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. Together we stand, love's pure might. Watching the world in love. Hearts beating, our peace flag. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand, in love's pure might.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and watching The World. We have so much to cover today. In fact, earlier today, I was at the Luigi Mangione trial, and there's so much to learn from this trial. In fact, he did not show up in court today because he is out sick. So we're going to resume that trial on Monday, but tonight we're going to cover a lot. In fact, we have two shows back to back. We have the news that we're going to cover from 7 to 8. And then at 8 o'clock tonight, we're going to interview a former Jehovah's Witness who is a famous DJ now. He has quite the story to tell, and I'm pretty sure each and every one of you will enjoy that. But tonight we're going to talk about a subject that's pushing through pretty steady today, and that is the Epstein Files. So we're going to check out the Epstein Files. Also, Donald Trump received the FIFA award today. We're going to talk about that as well. But first, we're going to get started talking about the Epstein Files. So I'm going to pull that up for you now.
Is ticking at the Justice Department, which only has about 3 weeks now to release the Epstein Files. That follows a new law requiring nearly full disclosure about what the government knows about the convicted sex offender. Fox's Doug Luzader explains.
There may not be much of a holiday weekend for many people at the Justice Department. Presumably, they are furiously going through the Epstein Files.
We will continue to follow the law.
So tell us in the comments, do you guys think that the Epstein Files will have a dramatic effect, especially when it comes to Donald Trump? Tell us what you think.
With maximum transparency while protecting victims.
Attorney General Pam Bondi says she will comply with the law, including the new one passed just last week, requiring her department to release all it has on Jeffrey Epstein, the late financier accused of trafficking women and abusing girls. Epstein had plenty of high-profile friends, including former President Clinton and at one time President Trump, who said he cut off.
Now, I'm pretty sure many of you probably know that the Epstein Files, the emails were released recently, and actually Bill Clinton allegedly was in those emails. Now, they try to say that Bill Clinton was referred to as being Bubba, that some say was a saxophone that was blown, but many say that Bubba was Bill Clinton's nickname. Well, we don't know for sure, but these explosive claims have come out in emails, as well as a lot of things came out in those emails that are not so great when it comes to the president of the United States even. But let's get to it.
Epstein years ago.
I think we are going to get a lot.
Legal experts expect to see quite a bit.
My hope and my expectation is that the Justice Department will err on the side of transparency. These are documents that everyone wants to see.
And what so many want to see is whether other big names are implicated in Epstein's misdeeds.
This is obviously sensitive stuff.
But lawyers caution there.
You know, they mention these other big names. A lot of times you'll find that Donald Trump mentions Bill Clinton as being in the Epstein Files. He often says that he traveled to the island some 28 times. We've heard that. That's on record from the president. But we don't know how true that is. But perhaps there are big names in the files. And these files now have a deadline. And it looks like we might find out what's going to be in them.
Will be redactions.
I don't know if we're going to see a smoking gun. There's going to be a lot for amateur sleuths to poke through about flight logs and whatever else. But we will eventually see this report.
Unfortunately, it has all come down to the Epstein Files.
There has already been political fallout, including the big split between one-time allies, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Do you guys remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene came out as a supporter of Donald Trump? She was fierce, right? So actually, she resigned recently. She says she's not going to pretty much even run for president. A lot of people thought she resigned because she was going to run, but no. So we wonder what's happening so devastating that's causing her to give up her political run. It's quite telling, but we still don't know the exact details.
And President Trump, who initially had fought the release before backing it. Those pushing for more disclosures plan to follow this through.
Anyone who's involved in any kind of cover-up is going to be subject to criminal prosecution.
And because there can be redactions to these documents to protect either victims or ongoing investigations, this may come to a larger debate over what's not released next month.
So tell us in the comments, are the Epstein files important to you? Is this something that you would really like to get to the bottom of? A lot of people say that it's important to them. I think at this point, it's going to be less likely that we're going to see these Epstein files really break with anything significant, especially when it comes to the president of the United States. Now, they did also release some photos and some videos I think are on the way from the Epstein Island as well. But we're going to check out a reporting as far as what these photos actually break down. In fact, they said there's some creepy things in these photos, so let's check it out.
Earlier today, the House Oversight Committee Democrats released tranches of new photos and video.
Okay, so Rick Young says these files have been heavily redacted. I believe so. I think that's going to be probably the main feature of these files is all the names. You probably won't be able to identify much when they finally come through. Now, you know, in the earlier part of the year, Donald Trump and also Pam Bondi, first they said they had the files. Pam Bondi said the files were on her desk. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump and her come back and they said, oh, there are no Epstein files, right? So we'll have to see what's being hidden from the American people.
From the so-called Epstein Island, that's the estate. That's one of two entire islands that Jeffrey Epstein owned in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's where his accusers say he trafficked and abused underage girls.
So these are actually photos from the Epstein Island.
A few of the newly released photos stand out for their sheer weirdness, like these images of a room with a dental chair and masks of men's faces on the wall. We don't know why Epstein had a dental chair or dental equipment in his home, but at the time of his death, his girlfriend was reportedly a 30-year-old licensed dentist.
Okay, so here's a photo here. You see the dentist chair and all these creepy photos. Wow.
Robert Garcia is a Democrat of California, the ranking member of the Oversight Committee, which made these photos public, and he joins me now. All right, Congressman, can you just walk us through what was released today and what their origins are, how they got to the...
We have quite a few people watching. We'd like to ask you if you could hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys very much for the support.
Committee.
Right. So late last night, we actually received about 5,000 documents, videos, and photos. And this is a combination of documents essentially and photos from the U.S. Virgin Islands, the government, and also additional.
So they have 5,000 different documents and photos from the Epstein Island. That should be a lot, should be very telling. Looks like the kitchen of some sort, right?
Documents and bank records from JP Morgan as well as Deutsche Bank. Now, those records we are still processing and certainly hope to release in the near future what we can. But what you're seeing right now are essentially videos and photographs taken by officials in the U.S. Virgin Islands of the estate on the island. And these, of course, many of these photos and pictures have obviously never been seen before. We have redacted essentially names and information that we think obviously connect survivors, but it's really disturbing stuff. And what we have said from day one as Oversight Democrats is any information that we receive, whether that's from the Virgin Islands, from bank.
That's a pretty vast kitchen. And just think about it. This is only one of Epstein's many properties.
From the Epstein estate, like when we got the birthday book or the emails that we released a couple of weeks ago, we're going to put that out to the American public. We know that the DOJ is not interested in transparency or the truth. They are leading a cover-up. So whenever we get information that can broaden the picture of who Jeffrey Epstein was and his horrific crimes against children and women.
So according to the report, his girlfriend at the time was a dentist of some sort. So maybe she was involved with this as well. We don't know.
We're going to put that forward, and that's what we did today.
You mentioned the financial records, which I think a lot of people have interest in, and Ron Wyden has been talking about a bit, and I think maybe had seen some versions of them. So obviously that's more sensitive material. I imagine there's some vetting there, but your anticipation is that will be publicly released and searchable as well?
That's our plan. I mean, right now, we just received the materials last night, and it's pretty complex information. Obviously, we know, and we've heard this directly from the survivors, to follow the money. There was an enormous amount of money that was essentially being transferred from individuals to Jeffrey Epstein, to his criminal enterprise, to Ghislaine Maxwell. And there are reports that some of this money could have been connected to other foreign governments. And so where that money went, who was involved, what shell companies were being set up.
So it appears that Epstein had his hands around the world stretched, right? He had some say perhaps even Israel. You had the United States, so many different countries. We can only imagine where did he get all of this power, money from, right?
The money laundering that was happening, which we know was actually part of the case that prosecutors brought to then U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, who of course becomes a cabinet secretary for.
So for those that are just coming in, these photos are of the Epstein Island that the Democrats have released.
Donald Trump later on. There was a lot there, and we know that the information could actually lead us to the powerful men that raped and abused women. And so for us, that information is critical. I'll also note, Chris, that the information we got from the banks is just some of the documents. We expect to get a lot more information from Deutsche Bank and from JP Morgan in the future.
Now, with all the money that Epstein had, I think it was reported that he had sent over $1 billion in wires. So think about that. They should be able to answer some of the questions. We have some comments coming in. We'll see what's happening here. Walter says most of them Democrats were there. I think you had people from both sides of the aisle there. It's quite possible, but we won't know until these files are actually released. But thank you, Walter White, for your comment. I appreciate you being here.
Future, and hope to get more information from 20 additional banks that we've requested information from.
There's an item in the Washington Post today about the senators who were writing to Pam Bondi as we approach basically the halfway mark on the 30-day ticking time clock on the release, asking Bondi to brief them by Friday on any new evidence, information, or procedural hurdles that could interfere with the department's ability to meet the deadline, which requires the administration to release the files by December 19th. You just said you believe they're engaged in a cutter-up. Are you confident they're going to produce what they're legally required to produce in the 30-day window?
I'm not, and I'm not confident in it.
So they said this could be a cover-up. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is a cover-up? Tell us what you think, Walter White.
Because they've had months to do so. We have a subpoena on the same exact documents through the Oversight Committee that we put in place months ago, of which they've released almost nothing but information that was already available to the public. Then the Congress votes in a bipartisan way to essentially release the same documents, and they have released nothing. So I'm hopeful they do so, but their past behavior does not give me any confidence in them actually releasing anything. They've set up this kind of shell investigation out of the Southern District of New York, which we know they may try to use to hide documents or to not release documents because they're in another investigation. The fact is this: Donald Trump can release all of the documents right now. He's had the power to release them from day one of his presidency, which he promised to do so and yet has yet failed to do. There are women out there right now who are being re-traumatized every single day and need justice and closure. They should release the files immediately, and let's hold all the powerful men.
Maybe about 2 months ago, Donald Trump basically said, you know, do not take this seriously. There's nothing to the Epstein files. But recently he has said you can release the files now. I don't know if that's sincere or not. That's not my issue, but he has said release those files, right? All right. Walter White says it's a very biased news source. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to cover different aspects of this from different. We're going to get to CNN and also Fox. You might be able to find something worthy. He says, I'd rather get my news from the ground news. That's just me. I use ground news too, but still at the end of the day, we get news from all different sources.
That did harm accountable.
Congressman Robert Garcia, thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to now take a look at this award that Donald Trump received. This is from Fox, so perhaps you're going to like this more, Walter. Let's check it out.
Right now, President Trump at the World Cup drawing of FIFA, and you see FIFA's president there, Gianni Infantino. We're expecting to watch the president and his speech. Let's go.
There is also a beautiful medal for you that you can wear everywhere you want to go.
I'm gonna wear it right now.
Okay, let me hold. Fantastic. Excellent. And you will receive also, of course, a certificate which reads out, and I would read it out with your permission, what are the reasons for you receiving this FIFA Peace Prize. Football unites the world. So the FIFA Peace Prize is presented annually on behalf of the billions of football-loving people from around the world to a distinguished individual who exemplifies an unwavering commitment to advancing peace and unity throughout the world through their notable leadership and action. And therefore, FIFA, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, awards the 2025 FIFA Peace Prize, Football Unites the World, to Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, in recognition of his exceptional and extraordinary actions to promote peace and unity around the world. Friday, December 5th, 2025. This is the certificate.
Okay, so what do you guys think? Does the president promote peace and unity around the world? Tell us what you think.
It's yours. Before giving you the floor, Mr. President, if I may say two words.
Okay, Wayne Rogers says you can't make this crap up. Okay, Walter says you got a like from me due to being respectful and not quick to shame or put me down. Okay, for how you voted. All right, definitely. Everybody's welcome here. We're just enjoying to see what's the latest news of the day. But nice to have you here, Walter.
Like everyone here in the room,
and thanks for liking the video.
We see images of war all over the world. And like everyone, we suffer for every child that dies. We cry with every mother that loses someone she loves. And we want to see hope. We want to see unity. We want to see a future. And I was lucky, Mr. President, to witness a few years ago, the Abraham Accord signatures. A few months ago in Sharm el-Sheikh, the peace in the Middle East agreement regarding Gaza. I was in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur for the peace between Cambodia and Thailand. Yesterday here in...
Okay, so Alan Quinn says, hell no, these people are blind and are in denial. Okay, a lot of people feel that way, especially what's happened in Venezuela. It doesn't look like we're having peace, but there might be a righteous cause for that, but I'm not clear on it. Some say it's the drugs, but some say it's other things too. Walter says, respect, you can make wearing a hat, the New York hat with the suit look good. Thank you very much for that, Walter. Nice to have you.
Washington, the Washington Peace Agreement between Rwanda and the DRC. Well, this is what we want from a leader that cares about the people. We want to live in a safe world, in a safe environment. We want to unite. That's what we do here today. That's what we'll do at the World Cup.
Are you guys taking this seriously, or do you think this is some sort of hype? Tell us.
Mr. President, and you definitely deserve the first FIFA Peace Prize for your action, for what you...
Some of the legacy media was saying that this is all made up just to really hype up the president and to, you know, as they say, rub it in, so to speak. What do you guys think, though? This is the first one given.
You have obtained in your way, but you obtained it in an incredible way, and you can always count, Mr. President, on my support, on the support of the entire football community or soccer community to help you make peace and make the world prosper all over the world. Thank you very much, Mr. President. The floor is all yours. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This is truly one of the great honors of my life. And beyond awards, Johnny and I were discussing this. We saved millions and millions of lives. The Congo, as an example, over 10 million people killed, and it was heading for another 10 million very quickly. And it just, you know, the fact that we could do that, India, Pakistan, so many different wars that we're able to end, in some cases, a little bit before they started, just right before they started. It was going to be late, but we got them done. And it's such an honor to be with Johnny. I've known Johnny for so long. He's done such an incredible job. And I have to tell you, you've set new records on ticket sales. And not to bring that up, because we don't want to bring a thing like that up right now, but it's an awfully nice tribute to you and to the game of football, or as we call it, soccer, but football. And that is an amazing thing. The numbers are beyond any numbers that anybody, even beyond what Johnny thought was possible.
Definitely.
I want to thank, by the way, my family, my great First Lady, Melania. You're right here, and thank you very much. And I think you're going to have an event the likes of which maybe the world has never seen. Based on the enthusiasm that I've seen, I have never seen anything like it. We've had a tremendous relationship, working relationship with Canada. We have our Prime Minister of Canada there, and we have our President of Mexico. And we've worked closely with those two countries, and the coordination and friendship and relationship has been outstanding, and I want to thank you both very much.
So those relationships started off rocky with Canada and Mexico when the president took office, but now, according to him, things have smoothed up a bit, right?
Much, and your country is very much. But most importantly, I just want to thank everybody. The world is a safer place now. The United States 1 year ago was not doing too well. And now I have to say we're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and we're going to keep it that way. Thank you all. Thank you. Have a great time. And Johnny, a tremendous honor. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Thank you so much.
All right, we thought we'd pause for just a moment there. There is...
Okay, very good. So tell me in the comments what you guys think about that. Do you think that the president is accurate in how he's portraying the relationships with these countries now? Do you think the president is doing a great job since he's taken office? Tell us what you think in the comments. Okay, we have James says that Trump is a traitor. Okay. All right. Walter says, well, I don't know about Mexico. They have a woman trying to control a bunch of dangerous men. Okay. Thank you, Walter, for your comments. Connor Barbie says, we are Charlie Kirk. We will carry the flame, all in the gospel of his name. Okay. Thank you very much, Connor. Nice to have you here as well. All right. So let's see what's happening with the affordability. Now you have Fox explaining how the economy is. So I want you guys to see if you think that this is unbiased and accurate. Tell us what you think.
With that, we bring in Kevin Hassett, Director of the White House National Economic Council. Kevin, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to start with that last number that we just heard from Grady Trimble that says that year-to-date job cuts show an increase of 54%. That seems like a troubling number. What's your take on it?
Well, don't forget that there's hires and there's fires and there's separations and new jobs, and so net job creation for the year is very positive. But the flow of jobs in and out is a little bit higher. There's a little bit more turnover. A lot of times that could happen because people feel like they're actually able to get another job if they.
So for those that are just coming in, the job numbers are pretty bad, right? and he's trying to explain it away.
Leave this job. What we really need, though, is we've got a little bit of a dark period because of the government shutdown. We don't have the jobs data for a couple of months. We'll get them in a few weeks, and then we'll have a clearer picture on this. The thing that was
Joseph Young says Fox and frauds. Okay, typically it's called Fox and Friends, but thank you, Joseph, for that expression. Thank you very much.
a real puzzle going back to the first half of the year.
We want to welcome Stella in the building. Stella is a part of the team. Nice to see you here. One-Eyed Will says Amazon just laid off 34,000 people before Christmas. Wow. That's the first that I'm hearing about that. Thank you. We'll have to dig into that a little bit deeper.
Is that while employers were saying that the job creation was somewhat tepid, if in the household survey where you're just asking people, do you have a job? We had 280,000 jobs, for example, in August. And given
Guys, take a moment and hit the like button if you like this type of material.
That the GDP numbers are saying that we're growing at 4%, there's something of a puzzle if the household number is not the right number. And so I'm kind of hoping that I'm going to believe more in the household number.
Okay, we'll see how they look. This is Harry Enton taking a look at some of his numbers at his board. Let's hear what he has to say.
Google searches for affordability up 110% versus a year ago. More folks search for affordability in the last month than at any point since the Great Recession. It's the cost of living, most important to you right now, 36%. What's right behind it?
So obviously a lot of people are feeling the pinch. What do you guys think about yourself personally? Are you feeling the economy pinch, or do you think that this is just fluff? Tell us your experience. All right, let's see. Vince Jackson, welcome in. Nice to have you here. Says the Biden administration allowed the pipe bomber walk around free for 4 years plus, even though they knew who he was and where he lived. Show you Biden was incompetent and old fart. Oh my. Thank you. I saw that report as far as the bomber. Vanessa, welcome in. Nice to have you here, Vanessa. She says it's just fluff. That's all it is, just fluff. Thank you for that. Keep commenting and stay with us, Vanessa. Like and subscribe to the channel. We want you around.
The economy, 20%. He won on affordability. He won on the cost of living in 2024. And
now the president did say that on day one, these prices would go down, right? That's what his promise was. So you guys tell me, do you see that happening on a larger scale or even in your local community? Are prices getting better or are they accurate? This is Fox, folks, not CNN. Most people get upset when I play CNN. Vince says the pipe bomber was supposed to be arrested 4 years ago. Wow.
he has completely lost the plot.
What do you say to that? He suggests that the president has lost the plot on the economy.
No, he absolutely is not. And, the president has talked about the affordability hoax. And I want to talk about what he means when he says that. The fact is that inflation went up almost to 10% 1 year with Joe Biden, over 20%, as you know, over the 4 years. And right now, the inflation rate is running maybe at about a 2.5%.
Everybody keeps pointing to Joe Biden whenever questions come up, right? They always talk about Joe Biden.
0.5% rate, but people lost on average about $3,000 worth of purchasing power because of Joe Biden's inflationary policies. And while we're making a lot of progress, and so as you mentioned that we had all the CEOs of the car dealerships in the Oval, I was in there in the Oval with the president yesterday, and they're talking about all the things that they're doing to make it so that cars will be cheaper next year. We've got an all-above approach that is definitely going to make things, inflation lower and things cheaper. But don't forget that it's not just what happens to prices, but what happens to wages. And so far, after losing $3,000 in purchasing power under Joe Biden already this year in Trump's economy, then people have gained $1,200 in purchasing power because of the moves that we're making. And in the car thing, I want to
at a point, Kevin, pardon me for interrupting, where we, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the numbers that we looked at show that inflation is still higher than wage growth. Is that true?
No. Wage growth is higher than inflation now. I'll send you an email, or come on next time and show you the chart.
Inflation is at 2.9%.
Real wage growth is up to 1,200.
Hey, you have to give it to her. She's putting the screws to him, asking those hard questions, right? For the B Fox, right?
$100 over the year.
Okay. We'll be happy to take a look at that.
I'll show it to you.
Let's take a look at a couple more polls. This one shows on a scale of excellent, good, only, fair, or poor, how would you rate economic conditions today? And if you combine only, fair, and poor, you get 76% on that poll. And then we have who is more responsible for current economic conditions, President Trump or President Biden, and we have Trump at 62%. So, I know that we've heard from you, we've heard from Scott Bessent saying that things are going to feel very different in the beginning of the year. And everybody hopes that that's absolutely accurate. And we look forward to that. But, what would you say to people who are answering the survey that way, Kevin?
Right. Well, one of the things that we've seen and we've studied.
So according to the survey, the majority of the people are feeling the pinch, no doubt.
Over the last couple of weeks is that when there's a government shutdown, then the things that we economists call the soft data, the survey data, tend to really, really tank because everyone's in a terrible mood because Washington can't work and the government shut down and they're worried about how bad it's going to be. But the hard data are what do people actually do with their lives, with their pocketbooks? And so, for example, we just saw the best Black Friday ever. People went out getting ready for the Christmas holiday shopping season, feeling very, very optimistic about the economy. As we go into next year, don't forget that all the people who have no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, who are going to be able to deduct the interest on their car loan if they buy a car, all those things are.
So are you guys able to say that that's a plus? No tax on tips and also Social Security? Can you give them a plus on that?
Kicking in big time as we go into next year. That's why Secretary Bessent and I are both very confident.
And what about the pharmaceuticals? As you guys know, I'm in court all week this week, next week involving Luigi Mangione. This case involves the healthcare system and how people are unfairly treated. Many lose their lives because of the way the health system runs. The big time corporate guys are getting the big money while the low people suffer. So the fact that we do have the pharmaceutical prices, they're supposed to be going down, I would say that that's a plus.
Confident that we're going to be looking at growth in the foreign numbers for the first half of next year.
So, we look forward to that. And those things all point in that direction. We'll see what happens in the beginning of the year.
Okay. MD Angelo says Trump has shown himself to be weak on the economy, weak on Russia, weak on tariff deals. Okay. Thank you for that input. Stella says, I give the plus on reporting interest on tax from cars. Okay. So you're giving the plus. Nice. Thank you for your comment.
Here in the first quarter. Are you going to be the next chair of the Federal Reserve?
The president has a number of candidates that he's been thinking about. I'm honored to be on a list with some great people, and we'll see how it goes.
Do you think we're going to see a cut at the Fed meeting? And should we see one?
I think we should, and I think that we are likely to. If you look at the communications from the Fed governors and some of the regional presidents, they now seem much more like they're leaning in the direction of a rate cut, which is I believe, the right
And how much would you like it to be?
In the long run, we've got to get to a much lower rate. If there's consensus around 25 basis points, which it looks like there is, then I'll take it.
And if you were Fed chair, would you want to keep doing that? How many times in the beginning of the year?
As Fed chair, what your job is to look at the data, see how it's going, and make sure that you're, keeping unemployment low and inflation low.
What do you guys think about this guy? Does he seem like he's honest to you, or he's just speaking well because he works at the White House? We're going to move on to Letitia James. I know she was scared for her life because of this whole case that was brought on her, but now it looks like she's out of the water. Let's get to it.
The grand jury in Virginia declining to re-indict New York Attorney General Letitia James. The charges against her in a mortgage fraud case were thrown out. Just 10 days ago, the Justice Department tried to bring the case again. Earlier today, it said that you can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. Well, apparently the Trump people can't do that. Let's get straight to CNN's Caitlin Collins at the White House. Caitlin?
Yeah, Jake, my colleague, Caitlin Pullins, and I.
So are you guys happy for Letitia James and that she's off the hook? Or do you think that there was some crime here?
Are hearing that today a grand jury declined to re-indict Letitia James on those mortgage fraud charges that the Justice Department has been seeking against her. And as you noted, in a case that was thrown out against her about 10 days ago, they made clear when that happened that they were going to try this again. But today, Jake, they have failed and did not secure a new indictment against the New York Attorney General, despite their best efforts today. Though we are hearing from sources that there should not.
So tell me in the comments, do you guys think that this was some sort of get back with her being indicted originally? Do you think that this is because she brought the case on Donald Trump here in New York City? I actually went to that trial too, where the president received 34 felonies. I was there. In fact, the president used to walk past me and I'm like, man, I can't believe a former president. At the time, he was a former president. I couldn't believe that he was actually, coming to court every day and facing the heat. But it happened, folks, and he has 34 felonies. Virgil says, no, she won't get away free. Okay, thank you, Virgil. Nice to have you here, Virgil. Stanley says, they hate Trump. She's guilty of fraud. Okay, Daniel Price is back here. Nice to have you back, Daniel. Says, if Donnie gave a damn about affordability, he wouldn't have illegally bypassed Congress to enact tariffs that are hurting the American public or sell out farmers or help rich buddies. He's a grifter. That's what he's saying. Hey, Daniel, nice to have you back. It's good to look over and see your name. I don't belong here says, Trump gonna get you. All right, all right. Virgil says, what happened with that Dens? Okay. All right. Are you saying Dens? Okay. I just need a little clarification. Stanley says he shouldn't have been charged in the first place. That's an argument a lot of people make. I understand where you're coming from, Stanley. Let's get back to it.
Be premature celebrations on this front, Jake, which likely means that they are going to try again. But given what you pointed out there, that it's generally a pretty low bar for something like this, it's not clear if the Justice Department will be successful, when it will try again, or when exactly that is going to happen. And so this is certainly a blow to their efforts, as the president has made clear that he wants charges pursued here and he wants this investigation to continue. Yet time and time again, ever since the beginning of this indictment, when it first happened,
Donald Trump acted as though he did not know about this case. He said, yeah, he didn't know a lot about it, right? But it's hard to believe that, especially when she made him sit in court. Basically, she was behind it. She's the one. I find that hard to believe. What do you guys think?
We have seen them continuing to face roadblocks here. We did reach out to the Justice Department, Jake. They did not offer any comment on what happens in the grand jury. And so far, we have not heard from James's attorney either on this front.
Kayla, we're also following the growing controversy around Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and that follow-up strike that the U.S. military carried.
When I was heading down to the courthouse for Luigi's trial, I actually drove yesterday. It's his hearing. And people were protesting Hegseth in New York like crazy, calling him a war criminal. I actually saw that a lot yesterday throughout New York City as I'm traveling down the highway.
Out on a suspected drug boat.
Yeah, Jake, the one way that the White House really registers whether or not criticism is something that they need to address or be concerned about is whether or not congressional Republicans are talking about it.
Okay, so let's get some of the comments in. We have a lot of comments coming in. I don't belong here says Democrats got a lot of scamming to start explaining about. Okay, so the Democrats are scammers. Daniel Price says shouldn't have been charged for things he was guilty of. Really? But I thought Donald was against swamps and corruption. And oh, he's not. He's a swamp rat himself. Cool. All right. Appreciate the sarcasm there, Daniel. It's crafted quite well. Rick Young says, just look at why they dropped the charges, because the prosecutor was illegally chosen by Trump. Okay, exactly. I'm aware of that. Great point, Rick Young. We appreciate that. Stanley says Trump knew about her being charged. That's bullshit. All right. AJ gives thumbs up. Stanley says the left will believe anything and everything, especially false information. Okay.
Especially Senate Republicans. And so I think given those two vastly different outcomes that we are hearing, depending on which party the lawmakers
Guys, take a moment to hit the like button. Thank you very much.
are in after they got those briefings today is something that the White House is noting here. Obviously, Democrats are coming out of that saying they have real questions and real problems.
Do you guys think that Hegseth is wrong? Tell me what you think. Are you guys upset about it, or could you perhaps care less? I want to know. Stella says, enjoy what you're watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and consider becoming a member. Thank you very much, Stella. Daniel says, what was that, Stanley? Over 35,000 confirmed lies from Donald's first term alone. That's a lot of lies, folks.
And are troubled by what they heard from these two top military officials today who were briefing lawmakers. But on the other side, Jake, Republicans are emerging from a lot of these closed-door briefings saying that they believe the administration made the right move and was well within the legal bounds when they carried out that second strike that killed those survivors. And one of those, notably, is Senator Tom Cotton, who called it not only highly lethal, but highly lawful earlier today. And so the White House has been pointing to answers like that when it comes to the questions that have been surrounding Secretary Pete Hegseth and his call here.
Do you guys believe that these individuals on the boats are actually drug pushers and criminals, or do you think it's true what Colombia said, that in some cases it was a man that had been fishing for 30 years and they totally wiped him out?
And what exactly happened behind closed doors. But I will note, Jake, that I've been talking to some White House officials. They don't expect the scrutiny is going to stop, but they're hoping that today's briefing will at least certainly address it and stem some of the criticism and questions that even Republicans had about this matter.
Breaking news, a grand jury has declined to indict New York Attorney General Letitia James. Let's get straight to CNN's Caitlin Pollins. Caitlin, what are you learning?
Well, Caitlin Collins and I have just confirmed through some sources that indeed a grand jury sitting in the federal courthouse in Norfolk, Virginia today, they looked at the possibility of indicting Letitia James for mortgage fraud, and they...
Okay, so we get the point loud and clear. She's off the hook. We'll have to see about Comey. What's happening with Comey? What do you guys think about that? All right, so the Supreme Court to take up the president's birthright citizenship case. We're going to see what's happening with that. This could be a big problem.
Breaking news now, the Supreme Court says it will hear an expedited appeal of President Trump's attempt to end birthright citizenship by executive.
Okay, so he wants to end that. Dale says New York is a swamp. Democratic Communist Party swamp. The Democrat Communist Party is the enemy from within with drugs in the boat. Okay, he's very clear about it. No doubt about it. He believes it's drugs on the boat. Thank you very much, Dale. Stick around with us. It's nice to have you here. Stanley says, how is it that the left has become so moral suddenly with all the corruption they perpetrate? Okay, what do you guys think about that? Are you guys with Stanley about the left and that they're righteous all of a sudden? What do you think? Daniel says, Dale, buddy, you know which city Donnie's from, right? He's from New York City, yes. William says, hell yes, they're runners. And if you believe they were fishing, I got a bridge. I could see that coming. You have a bridge to sell. All right. Sell it high, purchase it low. Good job.
Order. The court did not explain its decision, and the case will likely be heard next spring. For more than 100 years, courts, interpreted the...
So we have a lot of Trump supporters in the building. So I want to ask you guys a question, right? I'm just a pretty neutral guy, but what do you guys think about like the lady that came here from Haiti, perhaps illegally, right? But they sent her to Africa. What about those individuals? Do you think that that's cool? I want to know your thoughts since you're here today as good supporters. Stella says anyone can bring a finishing pole on the trip to make it look like that's what they've been doing, a fishing pole. Okay. Very good. Rick Young says 99% of the drugs that come across the U.S. border come through Mexico. Rick, do you think they're going to start dropping bombs on Mexico? Tell me what you think. I just came back from Costa Rica. It was a great trip, but I had to fly 6 hours. I didn't like that. Okay. Stanley says, I think that's bullshit. Send her 3 to her own country. Okay. All right. I think that's what you're trying to say. Send her back to her own country, perhaps. Okay. No problem, Stella. It's all good. Stanley says, Yeah, send it back to him. Daniel says, there, William, there. And if you honestly believe that a double tap on one boat in international waters was somehow all this exaggerated trash Donald is spewing, then you are painfully naive. Let's finish this up, folks.
Constitution to give U.S. citizenship to anyone born on American soil, regardless of the legal status of the parents. Now, that may hang in the balance. Our senior Washington correspondent, Devin Dwyer, joins me now. So this is clearly a huge deal and a lot's at stake, Devin.
A landmark case, Kira, and part of President Trump's immigration agenda, his crackdown he signed into law on the first day in office. And it's not the
What do you guys think? Do you think he's a Democrat or a Republican? Tell me what you think.
first time that the Supreme Court will look at this issue. You remember just about a year ago, the Supreme Court heard a case involving the president's attempt to end birthright citizenship. But at that time, the justices were squarely focused on whether individual courts around the country could block the order while the litigation continued. They ultimately said that nationwide injunctions were not okay, but judges found ways around them. That executive order remains on hold. Birthright citizenship is still the policy of the land, but now the president is back to the Supreme Court asking them to decide this issue on the merits. Even though, as you mentioned there in the intro, more than 100 years of legal precedent has established and reaffirmed that the Constitution does in fact spell out that anyone born on American soil is an American. And what the justices said this afternoon is that they are now going to take it up, decide it once and for all, likely next spring, Kira, when they schedule the case, and hand a decision down.
So what do you guys think about birthright citizenship? If a person is born here, right? Are they a true American, or do you think, are you with the president on this matter?
Before the end of June.
So does the fact that the court will take up this case indicate how it might eventually rule on the issue?
It's a great question.
I'm telling you right now, this would be a game changer if they change this one. Man, people are already struggling with it, but they're going to really struggle if they change the rule here.
Sometimes it does indicate that there's interest on the part of the court to overturn lower court decisions, but most legal analysts that I've talked to, Kira, say the reason the court is getting involved here is simply because of the magnitude of the issue, the attempt by...
Okay, Raul says, no, no, no. Okay. Stanley says, I'm against anyone coming here just to have a baby for birthright citizenship. That's a common trend, but what are you going to do about the millions of people that have come in that way, right? Stella says, please be respectful to the hosts and each other. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Daniel says, the boat was no threat, period. Donnie's looking for a reason to start a war and declare a national emergency so he can have martial law and expand his power. Are you really that dense? Okay. Daniel is preaching today.
President Trump repeatedly now to push this issue to the forefront, but all of the federal courts around the country that have looked at this issue in the past, 8-9 months since President Trump took office have all unanimously ruled that it is unconstitutional, it is illegal, and they've put it on hold.
Okay, so we only have a few minutes left. We have another show coming up at 8 o'clock. I'd like to encourage you guys to tune in for it. I'm briefly going to hit on this last subject about Luigi. We're only going to check this out for 1 minute. I was in court today. I've been in court every day regarding this case. Today, Luigi was sick, so they adjourned court until Monday morning at 9:30. But let's see what they're saying, and I'll give you a little explanation before I end this show and start the next one. So please come back and support the next show. We have a gentleman. He's a famous DJ. He's on LL Cool J Rock the Bells, and he's a former Jehovah's Witness, and he has a story about why he left the religion, and I think it'll be a powerful story. He's also had some issues with his mother, and he's going to break all that down for us tonight. It's quite the story you want to hear. But let's check out, we're going to end now with Luigi Mangione. And by the way, I appreciate everybody who hit the like button, who came to support the channel tonight. I'm covering this case, but I'll be back to the regular program probably within the next week.
And the suspect in the United Healthcare CEO killing is in court today, exactly a year after the New York City murder. Defense attorneys are trying for a third day to convince a judge not to let prosecutors use key evidence in the trial. And right now, an Altoona police officer is testifying.
Okay, so you guys see the screen. Okay, I'm just going to break this down really fast because I have the next show to prepare for. Luigi, you see what he's wearing there. He was sitting in this corner when the police officers came. And you see this police officer over to the left, right? That's where the officers, 2 officers stood, and they prevented Luigi from getting up and leaving. And he had really committed no crime, but he resembled the New York City shooter. But that still didn't give them the right to do a lot of the things that were done. In fact, even though they blocked him, basically, within a 40-minute period, 13 officers are standing around him, and he's sitting at this table, obviously, before they book him here. He's sitting at the table. So what do you guys think? Do you think it's right that the defense is trying to, block the gun, his diary, and all the evidence that they gathered? They're trying to say they did not read him his rights for, I think it was 20 minutes in. So this is quite intriguing. We're going to find out what the judge think about this probably toward the end of next week. But there's 30 witnesses, and I believe we've only covered about 7. So this could go on another 2 weeks or so too. So, and it's freezing out there, but I'm just giving you a little background on this. Unfortunately, folks, I'm going to hit a few comments, and then we have to end this show to start the next one at 8 o'clock. Let's see here. Scott says, if a person is born in America, then they are definitely a U.S. citizen. That should not be able to be changed. Okay, thank you for that, Scott. Nice to have you here. Stick around with us. Stanley says, if I commit the crime, you do the time. You're making a great point, Stanley. You're making a great point. All right. Daniel Price says, in the fact so many have no issues with Donald Trump attacking the constitutional amendment, after saying he doesn't know if he has to uphold the Constitution, is pretty sad and disturbing. Okay, Daniel, thank you for that. We're going to end with that, Daniel's comment. I want to say thank you to everybody who participated. Consider coming back at 8 o'clock for this explosive interview with a man who grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and he has quite the story to tell. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys back in a few minutes.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the thing remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.